Welcome to Wattage Wednesday. Today I have these 6 light bulbs. We're going to test and compare the wattages between them. I have 3 60 watts and 3 40 watt bulbs, compact fluorescent light, an LED light, and a regular incandescent light. So we'll test all 3 of those variations in the 2 different wattages, and we'll see how many watts we use. So if you have some other suggestions of items you'd like me to test the wattage of, put those suggestions in the comments below. Like this page, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see what I can do about getting those videos made up. So let's get started. So I wanted to do this test because when we had the power go out the other day, I had my chicken brooder heat lamp. I needed to plug into my power bank. So when I did, I noticed it said 150 watts. But the light bulb was 125 watts. So I'm assuming not every light bulb, like a lot of power tools and other electronics equipment, the wattage isn't always right. I just would have thought a light bulb would have been more accurate, but that seemed like a pretty big difference to be off by 25 watts. So it's 20%. So I wanted to try some of these other light bulbs out. So this is a 60 watt light bulb. So let's start with that one. This is probably what more older people are familiar with. This is a standard light bulb that's been around for a long time. 60 watt, it seemed like it was always the common one. If you always wanted more light, you had 100. If you wanted less, you put a 40 watt bulb in. But they didn't have compact fluorescence several years ago, and they didn't have LEDs back then either. So your parents always told you, make sure you turn the lights off. If you're not in the room, turn the lights off. So it's not as big a worry anymore with the LEDs. So this is the 60. You'll see it's not too bright. So let's reset this meter, and then we'll go to wattage. So we go to watts, and it says 58 watts, and it'll stay there. It'll move around a couple decimal points, but it's just under 60, so it stays there. So it's pretty good. It's just a little wire in there, heats up. It changes resistance as it gets warm, so it should change the amperage a little bit, which would change the wattage, but it seems like it's been staying pretty good at 58. So on here I can look at the cost. So we go to cost, and then I go up. It's going to cost 1 cent per hour. It's going to cost 27 cents per day, $1.94 per week, $8.35 for a whole month. So if you leave a couple of these on all day long for the entire month, it could be easily $8 for 1 bulb, $16 for 2 bulbs. You can see how it can add up real quick. You probably wouldn't leave them on all day long unless it was in a barn or something like that, but still, it'll add up really quick. So $8.35 for the month. So let's try compact fluorescent next. And it's a little bit warm. Oh, I can't hang on to it. So wattage is a direct correlation to heat. So the higher the wattage, the more heat. So that was 60 watts. This is a 60 watt equivalent, which says 9 watts. We're going to compact fluorescent next. So this is a 60 watt equivalent. It says 13 watts, so it's less than 60. It won't get as hot, but 13 watts will still get hot though. It'll still be hot to touch. I'm going to reset this and get it up to watts. Turn it on. See, it's at 10.4. So this is going to gradually creep up to the 13. You know, it doesn't take very long to get there. for about a minute. So 11.1 already. So it's also starts off dim and it gets brighter. So this is a 60 watt equivalent. We're at 12 watts already. 12.2, 12.3. These I can never really get in pure bright white. Some of them are better than others, but the yellow seems to be what the most of them were. Then they get darker as they get older. So there we're at the 13 watts now. I think it's probably about topped out. 13.2. Let's look at the cost. So under the menu, cost for 1 hour, it says 0. For the day, it's 4 cents. For the week, it's 33 cents. For the month, it's $1.44. So it's a lot different than the $8. $1.44 is not too bad. It's now jumped up to $1.58 for the month, and that's going to be because the wattage probably went up another 1/10. $13 still. Now we'll do the LED. So the LED says 9. So it's not much different than the 13, but it's 4 watts. So it's about 1/3 of what the compact fluorescent was. Let's reset it. We'll go up to wattage. Let's turn this one on. It's a bright white. We're at 7.1. And this will creep up just a little bit. Not as much as a compact fluorescent. 7.3. So it says it's a 9 watt. I don't think this one actually gets to 9 watts. But I do think it got closer to 8. But if we go under the cost, per hour it's 0. Per day it's 2 cents. So if you forget to turn a light off, just because you left the room, it's not going to cost you a fortune. 20 cents for the week. And 86 cents for the month. So for a compact fluorescent, it was $1.58. This is almost half of that at 86 cents. Let's go back to wattage. Still at 7.2 watts. So those were the expensive bulbs that I had here. I have one of those fancy ones from Home Depot that have the 4 long strips in them. That says it's like an 800 watt equivalent. I think it uses 125 watts. They're LEDs, but there's 4 strips on each side. Well, there's 1 strip on each side, 4 different sides, but there's nothing that comes out the bottom. So then I got this 4 socket, it's actually a 5 socket bulb at the top, so I could put 5 of these in at the top. I put that 800 watt one in the center, but then it casts a shadow down because there's no bulb pointing straight down. So then I put 4 of these guys around that one. So I got a lot of LEDs in there, but it's in my garage, so I got a lot of light. But the 800 watt equivalent shines lights out. These will end up shining the lights down. So you can still get pretty expensive on your light use. Like the heating bulb for the chickens. You can get them in the 250 watt, the red ones. But you just have to lift them farther away from the chicken so they don't get too hot. So I got a 125 watt bulb, and it's probably about 12 inches off above the bedding. So, and they still don't lay underneath it because it gets too hot. So I didn't need to spend twice the power and just raise the bulb up higher. So It's got 125 watt, and it's a white bulb, so it's not too bright. But that's the one that actually measured 150 watts. So this is the 40 watt. Let's reset it. Gotta press and hold the button. We'll go to wattage. We'll turn this one on. And this one's at 38.3. And this one will move around just in a couple tenths, just like the 60 watt one would. So 38.5, but it stays pretty consistent. So we'll go to cost. It's 0 per day. Sorry, that was 0 per hour. So this says 14 cents per day, $1.04 per week, $4.60 per month. So that's less than $8 of the 60 watt bulb was. It's not quite half, but pretty close. So we'll do the compact fluorescent next, the CFL. Let's reset the wattage again. Get to watts, turn it on, and I saw 5.8, it's 8.3 right now, and this one was 9 watts, so this one will creep up also, so 8.5, 8.7, so I'll probably get real close to the 9, 8.9, 8.8. So let's see what the cost is. 0 per hour. 3 cents per day. 23 cents per week. $1 per month. I didn't mean to go that far, but it still says it's $12.26 per year. We didn't say that on any of the other ones. So the problem with those is if you turn them on and off every time you leave the room, it's not going to be bright every time you turn it on. So sometimes those are just easier to leave on if you're coming and going. But the LEDs, it doesn't matter. So you can save money now by just turning lights on and off, and it stays bright the entire time. So I just love the LEDs. Every bulb in my house is LED. So the wattage. So that's a 40 watt, which is 5.5 watts. So this started off below 5 when it was cold. So it's 5.2 right now. 5.4. Cost. $0 per hour. 1 cent per day. 10 cents for the week. 57 cents for the month. So that's really cheap. Even if you left it on accidentally for one whole day, you went in the bathroom, turn it on, then turn it off when you left, didn't catch it till the next morning, it only cost you 1 cent. So that's not bad. So as far as wattages goes, for us to be able to use these on power banks, solar generators, the power stations that we have, obviously the LEDs are going to be the best. It's a low wattage unit, You can leave them on for a long time and not use much power. The only bad part is on these battery banks, if you have to turn them on so that you can run AC, the power bank is probably going to use more power just leaving it on AC than what the bulb is going to use. So if you could have DC lights, like flashlights, you could use your power bank to charge your AA batteries, use your AA batteries to power your flashlight, and then you would only have to have your power bank on for a couple hours to recharge your batteries as opposed to leaving it on all night as a night light. Or you can get DC lights. They have those. Those are a little bit harder to find, but you could plug those into like a USB port. But similarly, if you have to leave the DC ports on too, that uses some energy, not as much. If you had a homemade setup yourself and you just have just a battery and you just plug in a bulb to the battery, a DC bulb, there is no circuitry it's going through, so you're only going to use the power that's going to the bulb. So it'd be the best way. But even like on my Bluetti, the Bluetti, it has a LED bulb right here, and when I first turn it on, it's using 1 watt. Then I hit it again, it goes brighter, it's using 2 watts. And then whatever you would need that mode for, so it uses less power. But I mean, that's using even less than what the LED 40 watt bulb is using. So this is 5.5 watts. That was only 1 watt or 2 watt. They have flashlights that have, I forget what they call it, Firefly mode. So Firefly mode is a real low wattage. It's like 1 watt or 2 watts. It's just enough to be able to use like a night light instead of using it as a high power flashlight. So I got a couple of the fancier flashlights that have that feature. It's not always easy to get to that feature to turn it on to it. But if you wanted the flashlight to last for a week, you could turn it on Firefly mode and have it just run continuous on the low wattage. But there's many bulbs, many sizes, many different styles. But this was just a small sampling of what I have here at the house. And if you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit our like button, and watch more videos down here. Have a good day.